My name is Abigail.
Where do you come from?
I come from Malaysia.
Okay, can you give us a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So my mom is Sri Lankan, more specifically Ceylonese, and my dad, he's African and he's from Ghana.
Oh, nice.
Well, not barriers, I would say, but just that growing up, since young, I've always spoken English at home. So I only managed to learn Malay in primary when I was like about 8 or 9 years old. So up until then, I would go to school, attend lessons. Like I said, primary school was at a local government school. So one of the barriers I faced was the language to some extent because I wouldn't really understand what's actually being taught for like 2 years. But fortunately, there was one teacher who was kind enough to actually tutor me like after classes and stuff. So I picked it up eventually. But overall, having two parents from different ethnicities itself, I don't know why, but they never really did give much attention to teaching me their language. So like as I was growing up, only like around my teen years, I told my grandma like, okay, I want to pick up a little bit of Tamil, because I have a lot of like Indian friends, and when they speak, I want to know what they're saying. So I did eventually get to the point where I can understand up till now, but I still don't speak it because up till today, if I do speak, I do get laughed at because the pronunciations, they're obviously not as rich as an actual person would sound like. So I guess that's one struggle. Like you want to learn, but then when you just feel like, you're being laughed at or they don't give you credit for trying, then you just think, might as well just let it be. So I think that's just one of the barriers. But other than that, overall, growing up in Malaysia, I, to some extent, have been acquainted to most of the culture here. So I didn't really have that much of a barrier overall. Culture, no, but I think similar to Sani, it's more of the distance. And as for Nadira, similar in the sense that a lot of my cousins, mainly from my dad's side, they are either way older because some of them, they're probably married and have kids, and then we don't really talk that much because of the age difference. And then there's the distance because I grew up in Malaysia most of my life, so I am just generally closer to my mom's side, and my mom's side has a smaller family compared to my dad's side. So as for my dad's side, we would probably just video call or talk on phone calls like once, maybe on few occasions, like for example Christmas or New Year's, just to like wish each other and say hello. But for the most part, I guess the reason why we just don't really connect is because of the distance and because of the age difference. But when we do talk, we can at least hold a conversation and it'll be okay. Yeah, like I said, growing up, I only managed to fluently speak, read, and write Malay only when I was like 8 or 9. So up until then, if I speak English, people just look at me like, oh, okay, you're speaking English, but it's okay, I don't want to be friends with you. So it's like, unless I can speak the language they speak, they don't really want to talk to you. So basically, growing up, for the first 2 years of my primary, I only had a handful of friends, like 2 or 3, and that's because they all spoke English. They also grew up speaking English in their house. So as for the locals, never really had any friends up until I was 10 or 11 years old, towards the end of my primary years. And again, throughout high school, because I went to an international school, but where I went, the majority race was Chinese. So again, they always spoke Mandarin, and I obviously didn't speak any Mandarin. So again, my friends they started off as a handful with those that only spoke English. But the first 2 years, I had a rough high school because the moment, when you do your self introductions and stuff for your first year, there was this group, they because of them, I really had struggled. I struggled making friends because the moment I mentioned that I was half African, they had this somehow perception on me like, although I'm not as tanned as I am, they wouldn't touch me. I think similar to what you said. Yeah, what you said. They wouldn't want to sit with me. They wouldn't want to touch my things. They wouldn't want to look at me. Like even if say we're doing group pairings, right? And if the teacher puts them with me, they're like, they're like, Abigail, why Abigail? Like you can actually see the disgust on their face, and they would just sit next to me and say things like, "Oh my god, you smell. Oh my god, you're so dirty." And that's all just because I mentioned that I was part African. So it's like they have that idea of, what Africans are, and then they would call me things like, "Oh my god, you're so black. Oh my god, don't come here." Or it's like even if others who didn't mind that talk to me, right? They will literally, they could be sitting there, but if they see another person talking to me, no matter the race, they would actually take the time to walk over here, and they're like, "Why are you talking to her? Do you know she's half African?" And I'm just like, okay. So everything eventually resolved only when that bunch, because they were flunkers, they flunked their studies. So when they got expelled, that's when things eventually got fine for me. Yeah. Oh no. I screamed and ran around the corridor, and my friends were like, "Why? What happened?" I'm like, "This. So. People, they got expelled." And they're like, no wonder, because people could see that, because in my school, unfortunately, I was like that only girl who was like part African, part Ceylonese. So it was easy for me to stand out in the sense like, okay, yeah, I'm the only one with that mixture, but at the same time, you also feel that kind of isolation because you're the only one. And then people are influenced by this group, and then they also sort of distance themselves because to some extent, these guys, they have more friends, right? So people don't want to be seen talking to you because they don't want other people to look at them and think, "Oh my god, did you see that person talking to her?" So it was a rough ride here and there. Not quite, but I'm just now realizing that growing up, only up until I came to my teen years, I never really talked about my religion a lot. I think because I was surrounded by, growing up high school, mostly Buddhist, and then growing up primary, mostly Muslim. So obviously, when you're surrounded by majority Muslims and you want to try and talk about Christianity, they're always going to butt you in with things they say and da da da. So I'm just realizing now that I actually never really talked about me being a Christian growing up or anything. But it's not like I wasn't proud of it. It's just that I never really felt the need to bring it up or talk about it. So it's just, I know I'm a Christian. I go to church. I follow my grandma to church. I do what a Christian should do. We try. And that's it. But it's not something that I'm ashamed of or anything. But it's not something I also see the need to just bring up and talk about it,
Okay. Mimi? I'm getting the vibe generally that you guys are just okay, right? Like you're positive, life is going okay. You're strong people, right?
Did it.
From a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you say your experiences have shaped who you are today?
I'll give a solid 8. Yeah, nothing could actually be 10 out of 10. But I would say a solid 8 because everything, like, growing up, being, bullied, discriminated to some extent, looked differently, everything basically. And also surrounding myself in the people around I'm with, right? So I would say that all together has definitely collectively made me get confidence every day, because I really did come to the sense that you really can't be comfortable in social settings if you're just not comfortable in yourself. So eventually I just got over it. Like, I just got over the fact, like, okay, hey, come on, I can't really change much, and I don't really want to give in to the pressure of changing myself to fit in. So it's either, you do it the hard way, or you just do you. So 8 out of 10.